everybody. So we're back again. We're going to be talking about virtual wholesaling. I've got to be upfront and honest with you. I don't have massive amounts of experience virtual wholesaling. I did all of my deals in the DFW market outside of a small handful being under about 5 of them. But what I would do is I'm going to give you my advice on how I would approach virtual wholesaling if that was a direction that I would be going. Now, some of the things that I would initially do is analyze my market. I need to figure out what kind of volume of sales is going on over there. Is there massive amounts of properties being available for sale and not selling? That would indicate that we're in a buyer's market, and that I might not want to be marketing to a metro area that is in a buyer's state. I would potentially look for areas that have low days on market, indicating that once a property is available for sale, it sells fast. I'm going to look for the volume of cash purchases, probably down to the zip code, so that way I can find areas that have a large pool of buyers for me to sell to. I need to find properties, but I also need to find buyers. So I need to find areas that are going to have an opportunity for me to find properties as well as find buyers. I would like to find areas that are substantially non-owner occupied properties. I'm going to be looking for areas that have a lot of landlords. If I can find zip codes with a ton of landlords, I've already got a very well set group of buyers that I can reach out to and say, hey, I've acquired another property in your area. Would you be interested in purchasing the contract or partnering on the deal with me? Those are the things that I'm going to be looking for. Okay. Other things that I'm going to need to be doing is establishing a team up front of people to work with on this. Wholesaling versus virtual wholesaling, once again, not a very big virtual wholesaler, but there's not a huge difference between the two processes. Everything I do as a wholesaler is going to be identical to virtual wholesaling, except for I personally am not going to be able to show up to the house. So a few of the things that I'm going to need on my team are going to be the seller. I really need that seller on my team. And some of the things I'm going to want that seller to do up front is be honest with me. I'm going to use that phone call to basically say, hey, I buy and sell. I don't want you to lie to these people. Say I contract 30, 40, 50 properties a month, whatever you contract. If you are not at a level where you're contracting that many properties every single month, then just say, hey, I as a professional buyer, I'm buying and looking at hundreds of properties a day. If I went and looked at all 100 properties every single day, there's no way I'd be able to ever compete in this business. So I, as a professional buyer, have learned a system that allows me to ask the right questions over the phone to determine the property's value so I can give you a fair cash offer over the phone. If I can give you a fair cash offer, is that something that you would be interested in pursuing? I use those terms. Those are a lot of the terms that I borrow from Bryce McKinley. I love watching his Facebook group. He's got a ton of cold calls in there. Never done business with him, but I do know that from watching him that his calls, he's really good on the phone. So you might want to go follow and check him out. But I'm going to need that seller on my team. And some of the things I need from that seller is honesty. Hey, what's going on with the house? Roof, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical. When's the last time it was updated? What's going on in the kitchen? What's going on with the fence, the roof, the landscaping? Do you mind going out there and taking some pictures? I need a solid picture of your electrical panel, of your outside condenser, of your air conditioning system, of your hot water heater, of the front of the house, the sides of the house, the back of the house, in a shot of every single room and any damage that you're aware of in the house. If you send those pictures to me, I can quickly use those pictures to get a strong understanding of the repairs that the home needs, and my experience will allow me to determine a repair cost based upon those pictures and give you a fair offer. Okay, there's no point in you trying to hide anything because I will figure this out over time, and it's just going to cause you delays and me delays. There's nothing we're going to be able to hide here. So just help me out and be on my team with this. Okay. Somebody that might also be good to have on your team is a GC and or another real estate investor / wholesaler to work with on this deal with you. Co-wholesaling is a very big opportunity for you to be the master lead generator, get the contracts, and get another wholesaler that's local to the market that you can trust and have established a relationship with to then follow through and handle the disposition side of it for you. Go through, take the pictures, market it out to their list, secure a buyer, and get the property assigned so that way you can split the deal up. That's an alternative to it. Working with real estate agents, having agents possibly secure the showings for you for a fee, flat fee. You might be able to go through and network with other buyers and wholesalers and also title companies. You're going to need a solid title company on your team to get that transaction closed. You're going to close that transaction with a remote notary. You being the assignment, if you're doing assignments, don't ever actually have to show up to the closing, but if you're doing double closings, get a remote notary involved. But making sure that you have a title company that can handle that transaction for you. But ultimately, there's not that big of a difference between wholesaling and virtual wholesaling. The biggest difference is you're going to need to be better at structuring and managing a team. You're going to need to go out and start doing some marketing in these areas. I would recommend, if you are doing that marketing, to use a local phone number as well as a system like CallRail so you can identify which markets are calling from which areas. I would go through and convey credibility while you're on this phone. If I'm local to the market and I'm advertising and I show up to the appointment after you've had a phone call with this seller or before you've had a phone call with that seller, I will try to downplay your credibility by saying, you know, if you're ever talking to somebody on the phone and they're just giving you offers and not even looking at your house, how professional can they really be? I mean, really all they're doing is throwing numbers out there, hoping you'll say yes, to try and renegotiate later to get your purchase price down, or just leave you hanging after a month when they realize that they couldn't do anything because they overpaid for your property. I'm showing up, taking measurements, and getting a solid repair bid because I am a professional investor and I want to make sure that you get to the closing table smoothly. Well, if I'm going to say that about you, you're going to have to figure out how, while you're on the phone, to make sure you overcome the fact that, hey, you're not showing up to the property. And one of the things that you can clearly say is, hey, I'm no chuck in a truck that buys 1 or 2 houses a year. I buy and contract and make offers and look at hundreds of properties a month. If I'm looking at hundreds of properties a month, there's no way I could drive to all 100 properties and then go through and get repair bids and everything else for them. Where I bring value to this table is my experience tells me that if you're honest with me and you send me the correct pictures of this property, I can analyze the property no different than that person showing up to you. But the difference between me and that person showing up to you is that person showing up to you is going to go look at maybe 1 or 2 houses a week and buy 1 or 2 houses a month at best. I am buying tons of them. And it's because of that and that experience that is going to allow me to contract this property with you and get you to the closing table. You're going to need to be able to convey that credibility, and you're going to need to be able to do it in an ethical manner and make sure that you can back up the conveyance that you've provided. If you're telling these people you're going to be able to close, make sure you're able to close. That's part of, being an ethical business person. You're going to need to determine the property condition. A big chunk of that's going to come from the seller, getting them to take pictures for you. And if they're not willing to take pictures for you, or you're not comfortable with that part, see if there's another wholesaler or contractor in the area that you can partner up with and feel comfortable partnering up with them and pay them a small fee for going out there and giving you a rehab estimate, going out there, taking some measurements and giving you, a property inspection report, maybe even a property inspector. You can pay them $150, $200 if you're giving them volume, see if you can work out a deal with them and just go through and give you a real quick desktop inspection. Okay, you're going to need to figure out some way to access the MLS for MLS sales. You can go through and find them in disclosure states on many websites, Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Propelio.com. Any of those can give you access to some of those, but if you're in non-disclosure states, that might be a little more difficult. Propelio does have access to comps in non-disclosure states, so if you are struggling with getting access for your comps, go check out Propelio. It is MLS comps, so Propelio.com, MLS comps are available there, plus nationwide lead lists, plus driving for dollars, plus websites. There's a lot of cool tools being built over there. Don't forget to check them out. 7-day free trial, no credit card required, but access the MLS. Once you have figured out what your purchase price is going to be, once you figured out what you anticipate the repair is going to be, you can then formulate an offer over the phone. Just say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, based upon the repairs that you're telling me this property needs and me looking at the resale value of that property when it's all fixed up, my offer is going to be right at $62,000. Is that a number that you feel is fair and that we can close on this with today? And if they respond back, no, that goes into negotiations. Figure out the number that makes sense to you, stick your offer out there, see what happens, and if you're able to get them to commit to it, say, you know what, let's move forward. I'm going to send you to your email right now. What's your email? Send them off a remote, a virtual signature, get it signed off on, and you're good to go from there. Closing's not going to be much different. If it's an assignment of contract, you don't show up, virtual, get you a remote notary. If you double close, get you a remote notary. You're going to get a check in the mail, or you're going to get wires in the bank. It's not that much more difficult. Now, I do have to remind you, I'm not your most credible source on virtual wholesaling. I have not done an extensive amount of them by far, but it's not complicated. Don't overcomplicate it. It's the same thing. You're going to be doing some data mining. You're going to market to them. You're going to take the phone call. The acquisition is going to handle over the phone. You're going to have the seller take the pictures. You're going to have to work it all virtually. And then create a team of these people remotely to handle up some of the things that you're struggling with, whether that be dispositions, whether that be repair cost estimates. Don't let those things slow you down. It's not that difficult. You can figure that piece out. But virtual wholesaling is definitely not something that is so far off the realm that I would count it out. I was just fortunate enough that the market I was in, I was able to perform in, so I had no need to do any virtual wholesaling. Don't let it be some mythic thing that's impossible, though. And if it really intrigues you and you didn't get enough from this, there are several resources out there you can stiffen that knowledge up on from. And hopefully I can find some people to come in here on the Propelio team and come into the Propelio Academy and just give you a really solid virtual wholesale course. But I don't see that where I've left much off that you could really benefit from. Virtual wholesaling is just a system built around wholesaling. Figure that part out and you're good to go. Appreciate it.